You are not born in a castle. You are born in a gutter. It's a useful introduction to the rest of your life. Milk is expensive, gin is cheap, and by 10, you know what hunger tastes like when it burns. Your first career is mudlarking, crawling through filth for anything worth selling. Then one day, the king volunteers you by hitting you in the skull. You wake up at sea, realizing that patriotism is just kidnapping with paperwork. On His Majesty's ship, discipline is measured in strips of skin. The food is half flour, half insects, and somehow still considered official rations. Then the war ends, and the Empire thanks you by throwing you onto land with nothing. Nassau looks like freedom, if freedom smelled like rum, sweat, and bad decisions. Then you see Blackbeard, the moment your life upgrades into a legendary bad idea. Edward Teach does not need an introduction. He already looks like the warning label. Before you get freedom, you get terms. Because pirates may be criminals, but even criminals like a written benefits package. The strange part is that this ship treats you more like a person than the king ever did. Your new home is a sloop, a fast little predator built to mock bigger ships. Your tools are simple, ugly, and perfect for ruining somebody else's afternoon. This is not a duelist's sword. It is a meat cleaver for crowded decks. The pistol gets one real sentence. After that, it is mostly an expensive club. Pirates do not wear uniforms. They wear whatever looked expensive on someone else. Even your luxury has limits. Your bathroom is a hole above the ocean, and your mattress is weather. The black flag is not decoration. It is a business message that says surrender now and maybe keep breathing. Every pirate waits for this. A fat merchant ship wandering too far from safety. Your ship is built for this. Close fast, frighten early, and make resistance feel foolish. The first shot is polite. It's how pirates say stop before the real talk starts. Terror works better than artillery. Your captain understands branding better than kings. Once the hooks bite, the deal is simple. There is no safe way backward for anyone. You don't cross like a gentleman. You cross like a nightmare someone should have surrendered to earlier. Real boarding is butchery at arm's length. Most captains care less about glory than about not dying uninsured. The hatch opens, and piracy reminds you it's a lottery. Sometimes the grand prize is just dried fish. The fight ends. The math begins. The smartest part of piracy is accounting with knives nearby. Then piracy reminds you what it really is. A cruel lottery, where the grand prize is often just crates of dried fish. Merchant sailors often decide that criminal democracy looks healthier than honest, systemic abuse. The quartermaster matters just as much as the captain. Here, loot is where trust lives or dies. Lost limbs actually have a fixed price, a better benefits package than the Royal Navy ever offered. If the captain turns tyrant, the crew votes him out. A forgotten but effective workplace reform. And yes, sometimes voting him out means exactly that. A one-way trip into the deep blue sea. You don't settle grudges aboard. One stupid feud can sink the entire ship and everyone on it. Most piracy is not glory. It is simply grueling ship maintenance with better branding. Ignore the worms, and your ship becomes a wooden colander of dead optimists. Freedom at sea involves a lot more scraping barnacles than the songs ever bothered to mention. 90% of piracy is not battle. It is heat, waiting, and the slow collapse of patience. Most days, you are less a sea wolf and more an unpaid maintenance department with a cutlass. If the ship starts leaking, romance ends immediately, and pumping becomes your religion. After a month, the water goes bad. But thirst is still more persuasive than revulsion. Sometimes the heat gets so bad, the ocean starts pretending it is land. When food runs low, the rat stops being a pest and becomes dinner with fur. Hunger is a very gifted chef when it absolutely has to be. You shave your head to escape lice, then steal a gentleman's wig and inherit his lice instead. At sea, you learn that insects, rot, and disease are more loyal than any crewman. By now you understand that the sea does not kill you quickly. It kills you one filthy inconvenience at a time. At last comes land, and suddenly the whole crew remembers how to spend like men who don't expect to live long. The fence knows you are desperate and terrible at negotiating, so naturally, he offers 10 cents on the dollar. A pirate fortune lasts shorter than a candle in a storm. In port, you do not rest. You detonate. Paid love is often more honest than the contracts you have signed. Then pleasure sends the bill, and the medicine is often more frightening than the disease. Treasure is a fairy tale. The parrot is emergency rations, and even your jewelry has a funeral purpose. By the end of shore leave, you own less than when you arrived, and smell much worse. Just as quickly, the spree ends, and the ocean calls its idiots home. Land takes your money, sea takes your body, and somehow you keep choosing both. Then piracy reminds you what it really is. A lottery, where the grand prize is sometimes just dried fish. Men beaten by their own captain often decide that pirate freedom looks healthier than honest discipline. On this ship, the quartermaster matters almost as much as the captain, because loot is where trust either survives or gets stabbed. A lost eye has a price. A lost leg has a price. And somehow, this is still a better benefits package than the Royal Navy. If the captain turns useless or cruel, the crew can vote him out. And sometimes, straight into the water. Most piracy is not glory. It is maintenance. Because a slow ship is just a coffin with sails. 90% of piracy is not battle. It is boredom, sweat, and chores done under a gun. Freedom at sea turns out to involve a lot more scraping than the songs usually mention. The sea does not always try to kill you fast. Sometimes it just cooks your patience first. In enough heat, the ocean starts pretending it is land, and your brain starts believing it. After a month, the fresh water becomes a living argument against thirst, and thirst still wins. When provisions fail, the rat stops being a pest and becomes dinner with fur. Hunger is a brilliant cook when given no other ingredients. You shave your head to escape lice, then steal a lord's wig and inherit his lice instead. At sea, you learn that insects, rot, and disease are more loyal than any crewman. Then finally comes land, and the whole crew remembers how to spend like men expecting not to live long. The fence knows you are wanted and desperate, so naturally, he offers 10 cents on the dollar. You came ashore rich for the first time in your life, which means disaster is now only a few drinks away. A pirate fortune has an average lifespan slightly shorter than a candle in a storm. In port, love for sale is still more honest than most contracts you have ever signed. You do not lose your money slowly. You lose it to professionals. By sunrise, you usually own less than when you arrived, and smell much worse. Then pleasure sends the bill, and the cure often looks more dangerous than the disease. You mark your body, because the sea does not promise to return you with a name attached. Buried treasure is mostly a fairy tale. The parrot is emergency dinner, and the earring is funeral insurance. After a week of freedom, you are broke again, sick again, and ready to sail because staying ashore costs more. Then the king sends Woodes Rogers with warships and paperwork, because Empire prefers a noose but will offer a signature first. Some men accept forgiveness. Some choose outlaw forever. And from here on the horizon starts looking like a gallows. Buried treasure is mostly a fairy tale for people who have never had money and immediately wasted it. The parrot is not your best friend. It is emergency dinner with better colors. Even the famous earring is less fashion than funeral planning. By the end of shore leave, you usually own less than when you landed and deserve none of the sympathy. Port pleasure sends the bill, and the cure is often more frightening than the disease. You mark your skin because the sea is very good at returning nameless corpses. Then the room goes quiet because the king has finally decided to care about Nassau. Woodes Rogers brings the oldest Empire trick in the book: forgiveness in one hand and a noose in the other. Suddenly, every outlaw has to decide whether he wants freedom, survival, or one last glorious mistake. The pirate paradise is still standing, but now it can smell the empire coming. The pardon looks almost civilized, which is how you know it is dangerous. Yesterday he was your brother. Today he works for the people paying to hang you. Blackbeard does not negotiate with paper. He prefers his contracts written in fear. Nassau is no longer a haven. It is a harbor with a closing lid. If law wants to trap you in port, then the only sensible answer is arson. A burning ship full of powder is the sort of argument that gets attention very quickly. In the smoke, panic becomes your ally, and discipline belongs to the other side. You escape the harbor, but you lose the only place that ever pretended criminals could live comfortably. From this moment on, every horizon comes with a receipt for your death. The way back is gone, and outlaw life has just become much more literal. Now every ship might be a prize, but it is much more likely to be a hunter. Once your head has a market price, trust becomes a luxury item. Then the sea sends its most patient killer, scurvy, the disease that dismantles you from the inside out. Your gums rot, your teeth loosen, and wounds you thought were history start bleeding like unfinished business. If disease does not get you first, then iron usually volunteers. There is no surgeon on a sloop, only a carpenter with a saw, and very little room for hesitation. Survival smells less heroic up close, more like hot tar and cooked human meat. You live, which mostly means you now fall over differently and hurt in places that no longer exist. The sea keeps upgrading you into a worse machine, one missing part at a time. By now, freedom is no longer an adventure. It is just a slower way to be destroyed. By now, the sea has stopped pretending it wants your freedom and started openly collecting parts of you. A wounded pirate is not a hero for long. He is a ration problem with a bad attitude. Eventually, the math is simple. One useless body costs more than a little guilt. Freedom finally belongs to you completely, which is unfortunate because it comes with no food. On the island, you relearn life. Eat, drink, and do not die before nightfall. That one bullet is a philosophy lesson, or the last lie you tell yourself tomorrow. Then the horizon moves, and hope returns, in the worst possible shape. Another ship. They save you because every wrecked man is a story worth buying drinks over. Just like that, you are right back where the lessons are sold secondhand. The sea gave you back your life, mostly so it could keep ruining it properly. Your next captain is Calico Jack, which sounds stylish because style is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. He looks like a legend and fights like a man who would prefer someone else to go first. Then you meet Anne Bonny and immediately understand that half the men on board are less dangerous than her breakfast mood. Mary Read is quieter, colder, and somehow even worse news for anyone standing in the wrong place. The romantic version of piracy usually forgets to mention who actually had the courage on the day it mattered. Then word spreads that Blackbeard is dead, and with him goes the last great performance of the old pirate age. Once Blackbeard falls, everyone understands the game has changed. Legend no longer protects anyone from musket ball. From here on, piracy feels less like rebellion and more like late-stage denial with sails attached. On this ship, the sharpest steel belongs to the people history will later try hardest to turn into trivia. The new crew still looks dramatic, but now the whole business smells like the end. The Empire doesn't need genius to catch pirates. It just needs them to stay drunk long enough. Barnett arrives like bad accounting. Early, sober, and impossible to charm. When the moment comes, a shocking number of hard men suddenly rediscover the strategic value of hiding. The only people acting like pirates are Anne and Mary, which is deeply embarrassing for everyone with a beard. Style finally meets consequences, and consequences do not care about fabric quality. There is no glorious finale here, just ropes, bruises, and the sour smell of failure. Once captured, even your legend gets handled like cargo. Prison is just the sea without wind and with worse smells, which is honestly impressive. She tells him he wouldn't be hanged if he'd fought like a man. History keeps the line because it hurts. The golden age of piracy is ending. Broke, drunk, and nowhere near the song version. The Empire doesn't need genius to catch pirates. It just needs them to stay drunk. When the moment comes, hard men rediscover the strategic value of hiding. Only Anne and Mary act like pirates, which is embarrassing for everyone with a beard. Style finally meets consequences, and consequences do not care how colorful your wardrobe was. What defeats you is not heroism, just sobriety, and a crew that still knows how to follow orders. There is no glorious last stand here, just ropes, bruises, and the smell of failure. Once captured, even your legend gets handled like cargo. Prison is just the sea without wind, and somehow with worse air. Anne tells him, if you had fought like a man, you would not be hanged like a dog. The golden age ends exactly as it should. Broke, drunk, and captured. In a pirate trial, the verdict arrives long before the paperwork. This is not justice. It is administration wearing a powdered wig. Your whole existence is reduced to documents, seizures, signatures, and whether the Empire can profit from your corpse. Once the court says death, the city hears entertainment. They offer prayer, rum, and routine, because execution works best when everyone pretends it is civilized. The path to the rope is short, but somehow still long enough for every mistake in your life to line up and wave. Death by hanging is not quick dignity. It is a public argument between rope and lungs. Even now, people treat your ending like a waterfront attraction with snacks. The women delay the rope not through mercy, but through biology and paperwork, which feels appropriate for this whole era. The Empire wants every sailor entering port to understand one thing: freedom without permission ends here. Death is not enough. The Empire wants your body to keep working, even after you're gone. Now you are a warning sign for ships, a nautical road post made out of failure. Your life, totaled up, looks less like legend and more like bad accounting with better marketing. Almost everything people love about pirates gets cleaner the farther it moves from real decks and real bodies. The truth smells worse and spends far more time patching leaks than chasing gold. The dream survives. Every trapped person loves the idea of telling the world to go drown. History turns your gangrene and hanging into merch, which may be the most efficient piracy of all. Were you a free man, a criminal, or just another fool who mistook motion for freedom? The real pirate dies in pieces, but the story keeps drinking long after the bones are done. In the end, the pirate is just an excuse to imagine that beyond the rules, life might still belong to you.